vanishing folklore and beliefs.
Manx Folklore, circa 1911, public domain reading. The Fynoderee. The Fynoderee went to the meadow to lift the dew at grey cock-crow. The maiden hair and the cow herb, he was stamping them both his feet under. He was stretching himself on the meadow. He threw the grass on the left hand. Last year he caused us to wonder. This year he's doing far better. He was stretching himself on the meadow. The herbs in bloom he was cutting. The bog bean herb in the curragh. As he went on his way it was shaking. Everything with his scythe he was cutting. Two sods was skinning the meadows, and if a leaf were left standing with his heels, he was stamping it under. The Fynoderee of Gordon. There was one time a Fynoderee living in Gordon. Those persons who saw him said that he was big and shaggy, with fiery eyes and stronger than any man. One night he met a blacksmith who was going home from his shop, and held out his hand to him to shake it. The blacksmith gave him hold of the iron sock of the plough which he had with him, and he squeezed it as if it had been a piece of clay, saying, "There's some strong Manx men in the world yet." The Fynoderee did all his work at night and went into the headlands in the daytime. One night when he was out on his travels, he came to Mullinsaile, out in Glen Garra. He saw a light in the mill, so he put his head through the open top half of the door to see what was going on inside, and there was Quay Moore's wife sifting corn. When she caught sight of the great big head, she was frightened terrible. She had presence of mind, however, to hand him the sieve and say, "If thou go to the river and bring water in it, I'll make a cake for thee, and the more water thou carry back, that's the bigger thy cake will be." So the Fynoderee took the sieve and ran down to the river, but the water poured from it, and he could fetch none for the cake, and he threw the sieve away in a rage and cried, "Dolan, dolan, desh, nai smu ta mi kurain, nai smu ta golas, sieve, sieve, dash. The more I put in, the more there's going out." The woman got away while he was trying to fill the sieve, and when he came back to the mill, he found it in darkness. The Fynoderee was working very hard for the Radcliffes, who owned Gordon back then. Every night he was grinding their corn for them, and often he would take a hand at the flails, if they put a stack into the barn in the evening and loosed every sheave of it. They would find it thrashed in the morning, but he would not touch one sheaf of it unless it were loosed. In the summer-time he was getting in their hay and cutting their corn. Many a time the people of the farm were passing the time of day with him. One cold frosty day big Gordon was docking turnips, and he blew on his fingers to warn them. "What art thou blowing on thee fingers for?" said the Fynoderee. "To put them in heat," said the farmer. At supper that night the farmer's porridge was hot, and he blew on it. "What art thou doing that for?" said the Fynoderee. "Isn't it hot enough for thee?" "It's too hot, it is. I'm blowing on it to cool it," said the farmer. "I don't like thee at all, boy," said the Fynoderee, "for thou can blow hot and blow cold with one breath." The Fynoderee was wearing no clothes, but it is said that he never felt the cold. Big Gordon, however, had pity on him, that he had none, and one frosty winter he went and got clothes made for him, breeches, jackets, waistcoat, and cap, great big ones they were too, and he went and gave them to him in the barn one night. The Fynoderee looked on them and took them up, and says he, "Coat for the back is sickness for the back. Vest for the middle is bad for the middle. Breeches for the breech is a curse for the breech. Cap for the head is injurious for the head. If thou own big Gordon farm, boy, if thine this little glen east, and thine this little glen west, not thine the merry glen of Rushen yet, boy." So he flung the clothes away and walked his ways to Glen Rushen, out to yon moor claries. He was working for them then, cutting the meadow hay for him, cutting turf for him, and seeing after the sheep. It happened one winter's night that there was a great snowstorm. Yon Moor got up to see after the sheep, but the Fynoderee came to the window. "Lie, lie, and take a sleep, Jan," says he. "I've got all the sheep in the fold." But there was one Logthun, a brown native sheep. There was one brown Longthun yearling there that give me more trouble till all the rest. My 7 curses on that little Logthun. I was twice round Barul Moor after her, but I caught her for all. When Yuan went out in the morning, all the sheep were safe in the koji house, and a big hare in with them, with 2 short lankets on him. That was the brown yearling. After a time, the Fynoderee went up to the top of the Barul mountain to live, up to the very peak. Himself and the wife went to make a pot full of porridge one day, and they fell out. She ran and left him. He threw a big white rock after her, and it struck her on her heel. The mark of the blood is still on the stone at Clay Fyne. While she stooped to put a rag on her heel, he threw a lot of small rocks at her that made her give a spring to the lag 2 miles away. Then he threw a big rock with the pot stick in it. It's in the Lag River today. At that she gave 2 leaps over the sea to the mountains of Mourne in Ireland, and for all that I know, she's still living there still.